at Dr. Watson's house.
Are you free for a few days? I'm going to the west of England. Murder at Boscombe Valley. Come with me. Leave Paddington on the 11:15 train. Holmes.
Well, my dear, are you going?
I don't know. I have a lot of patients to see.
But Dr. Anstruther can do your work here. You like working with Mr. Holmes. Go with him to Boscombe Valley.
You're right, my dear. It's 10:15 now. I've only got half an hour.
Half an hour later at Paddington Station.
Watson, over here. It's good of you to come. Wait here, please. I'm going to buy our tickets.
Later, in the train.
Do you know anything about this case, Watson?
No, Holmes. Is it murder?
It seems so. The murdered man's unfortunate son is in prison now. He's the main suspect.
But you don't think he's guilty, Holmes?
No, I don't. A simple case can be very complex in reality, my dear Watson.
Holmes begins to tell Watson about the case.
The McCarthy family lives on the estate of a rich gentleman, Mr. John Turner, in Boscombe Valley near Ross-on-Wye.
Where does Mr. Turner's money come from?
That is rather a mystery, Watson. He is not from Ross-on-Wye. He came to England from Australia about 20 years ago. No one knows anything about him.
Were Charles McCarthy and Turner friends?
I think so. McCarthy was also in Australia for many years.
Has Mr. Turner got any children?
Yes, he has got one daughter. Her name's Alice. She's 18, like James McCarthy. Mrs. Turner is dead.
What is this Mr. Turner like?
Rather introverted. He hasn't got many friends and he isn't sociable. He likes staying at home.
And McCarthy?
They say he liked horse racing. There are rumours that he gambled a lot.
What do the newspapers say about the case, Holmes?
The Times says that on Monday, Charles McCarthy left his house at 3 o'clock and walked to Boscombe Pool, a small lake near his farm.
I see. And then?
The police arrest his son for murder the next day. Here, Watson, you read it.
James McCarthy arrived home from Bristol on Monday morning and went straight to his room. He was in his room when his father arrived. Mr. McCarthy told the servant, "I'm late. I have an appointment at 3 o'clock. I must leave immediately." His son didn't see him go out. James took his gun and walked to Boscombe Pool to shoot rabbits.
There are 2 witnesses.
Who are they?
One is the gamekeeper.
What does he say?
He says he saw Charles McCarthy in the wood, and then he met James McCarthy a few minutes later with a gun. Both men were on the path for Boscombe Pool. The second witness is a young girl of 14, the gamekeeper's daughter, Patience Moran.
A child? Is she important?
Yes, she is. She saw McCarthy and his son having an argument at the pool. She saw James raise his hand, perhaps to hit his father. She was afraid and ran home to tell her mother.
What does McCarthy's son say about the murder and about the gun?
He says he doesn't know anything, and the gun was only for shooting rabbits.
What about the argument with his father?
He says it's private. He can't talk about it. Patience Moran has more to say, however.
Patience Moran's home. The day of the murder.
Mother! Mother!
Patience, what's the matter, child?
Master James is arguing terribly with his father. They're up at Boscombe Pool.
A few minutes later. Please help me!
Master James, what's the matter?
My father is seriously hurt. He's at the pool. I need help.
Quickly, Patience, get the doctor and your father. That's very strange. Master James has blood on his arm.
Moran, the gamekeeper, and a policeman find Charles McCarthy's body.
Poor Mr. McCarthy. He's dead.
This is a terrible murder. Look at his head.
Yes. The murderer hit him violently 4 or 5 times.
Yes. He hit him with something heavy. A gun?
But where's the weapon?
I don't know. Let's look for it.
Sergeant, come quickly. Here's the weapon.
Good work, Moran. Whose gun is it?
Oh, dear God. It's James McCarthy's gun.
I arrest you for the murder of your father. Come with me.
I'm not surprised. This is my punishment. In Ross-on-Wye, people are talking about the murder.
Imagine killing your own father.
He's a kind boy. I don't think he's guilty.
But it is his gun. I think he's guilty.
I see. Very interesting. But the case is closed. McCarthy is guilty.
Why do you say that?
There are 2 witnesses and his gun. It's clear the son killed the father.
On the contrary, my dear Watson, the case is not clear. Someone thinks James McCarthy is totally innocent.
Who?
Miss Alice Turner. And here is Alice Turner's telegram to me. Mr. Sherlock Holmes, Esquire, 22 Baker Street, London. And that, Watson, is why we are here. Miss Turner wants our help. The police think McCarthy's guilty, but Miss Turner thinks he is innocent.
I see. But the evidence seems to show McCarthy is guilty.
Think again, Watson. The arrest was not immediate. There was time for the murderer to escape. And remember the boy's strange words at his arrest. At his trial, James McCarthy told the court about that fateful day.
Hello, Dinah. Where's my father?
Hello, Master McCarthy. He's in town. He says he's going to see you later, but he has an important appointment first.
Hello, Moran. How are you?
Fine, Master James. Where are you going?
My father's out, so I'm going to Boscombe Pool to shoot some rabbits.
Good afternoon and good hunting.
Thank you. Goodbye. At Boscombe Pool, James hears a familiar sound.
Cooey!
Ooh-wee!
James, what are you doing here?
Why are you surprised? Cooey is our usual call.
Oh, yes. Listen, son. I want to speak to you.
No, father. I know what you want, but I can't do it.
I am your father. You must do what I say.
No, father, it's impossible. No! Ah! Father! What's the matter? What's wrong? Father, who was it? Who hurt you? What? What is it, father?
Rat!
Back in the courtroom.
Can you tell us about the argument?
No, I'm sorry. I can't. It's private.
Can you remember anything more about the place?
Yes, I can. I remember something on the ground. Something grey. A coat, I think. At a local hotel.
Lestrade, how kind of you to meet us.
It's good of you to come, Mr. Holmes. Miss Turner is coming at 1 o'clock. Shall we go in?
This is a most interesting case, Lestrade.
Why? The boy is obviously guilty.
I don't think so, Inspector. Let's see what Miss Turner thinks.
Miss Turner, can I introduce Mr. Sherlock Holmes and his friend Dr. Watson?
Mr. Holmes, I'm so happy to meet you. James is innocent. He's too kind to hurt anyone.
And the argument with his father? Do you know anything about that?
Yes, the argument was about me. Mr. McCarthy wanted James to marry me.
And do you want to marry James?
James doesn't want to marry. He's too young.
Is your father in favour of the marriage?
No, not at all. He doesn't want us to marry.
I see. Could I talk to your father, Miss Turner? Perhaps tomorrow? Or next week?
No, I'm sorry. He's too ill to see anyone.
What's the matter with him, my dear?
The doctor says his heart is very weak. He became ill after the murder. Now he has to stay in bed all the time. I'm sorry. I must go now. My father is very bad today. He needs me. Goodbye, Mr. Holmes.
Lestrade, do you have permission to visit McCarthy in prison?
Yes. Do you want to see him, Mr. Holmes?
Yes, I do. Can you arrange it?
At Ross-on-Wye Prison.
The prisoner's in here, sir. That was a terrible thing he did. Murdering his own father.
Tell me about the murder, my boy.
I don't know anything about it.
What do you mean?
It's true, I had an argument with my father at Boscombe Pool. But I didn't murder him. I'm innocent, Mr. Holmes. Ha!
Don't worry, my boy. I'm going to help you. I already have some ideas about the identity of the murderer.
Please hurry, Mr. Holmes. I can't stand this awful place.
Ah, Holmes, you're back. How is young McCarthy? Does he know anything?
Nothing at all. He said, I don't know who murdered my father.
What's he like?
He's young and handsome, with a good heart, but he's not very clever.
James has good friends. Miss Turner believes he is innocent.
Ah, yes, Miss Turner. I'm afraid there is an unhappy story there, Watson.
Really?
Do you like sugar, Mr. Holmes, sir?
Yes, I do. 2, please. James McCarthy does want to marry Alice Turner. He loves her very much. But he's already married.
Already married? Good God!
Exactly, Watson. But maybe something good can come from all this mess.
How, Holmes?
James McCarthy married a barmaid in Bristol 2 years ago in secret. It was not a happy union, and they live apart. That is the reason he told his father he couldn't marry Alice Turner.
It seems a hopeless situation.
Not quite, Watson. Today I heard some good news. McCarthy's wife read about the murder in the newspapers. Now she thinks her husband, James McCarthy, is a murderer. She wants a divorce. She wants to marry another man.
Then McCarthy is free. He can marry Miss Turner.
I hope so, Watson.
But about the case, Holmes, any new developments?
Well, for me there are 2 important points. 1, Charles McCarthy knows his murderer and arranges to meet him at Boscombe Pool.
And the second point?
That McCarthy cries cooey.
But that's clear. He's calling his son. It's their special call.
No, Watson. He doesn't know his son is there. He's using that particular cry to call someone else. But who?
The next day, Holmes and Watson meet Lestrade at Boscombe Pool to search for clues.
There's some bad news, I'm afraid. Mr. Turner is very ill. The doctor thinks he's going to die.
What's the matter with him?
His daughter says he's ill because of the shock of the murder.
Tell me something, Lestrade. Do the McCarthys pay rent for the house they live in on Mr. Turner's estate?
No, they don't pay any rent. The McCarthys and the Turners are old friends.
Look here, Watson. These must be James McCarthy's footprints. And those are the gamekeeper Moran's.
Holmes, over here. These other footprints are very unusual. They have square toes. What kind of boots are they?
We have a lot of important clues here, Watson. We are near the solution of this case. Please leave me alone for a few minutes. I must concentrate. Inspector Lestrade, here is the murder weapon.
Good heavens! But how do you know it's the murder weapon?
Because the instrument used to kill McCarthy made unusual marks on his head. Marks from something heavy and sharp. And this stone still has blood on it. Look. I can also tell you what our murderer looks like. He's a tall man. He is left-handed and limps on his right leg. He wears heavy work boots and a grey coat. He smokes Indian cigars.
But, how?
Who is it, Holmes?
The police must find the right man to arrest now. It's up to Inspector Lestrade.
But I can't arrest every man who smokes cigars and limps. Everyone in Scotland Yard is going to laugh at me.
I'm sorry. That's all I can tell you, Inspector. You must do the rest yourself. Watson, you and I are returning to London tonight. The case is solved.
How do you know who the murderer is, Holmes?
Elementary, my dear Watson. There are a lot of clues. 1. Charles McCarthy cries cooey. And 2. His last words are rat.
So?
Cooey is an Australian word. Only Australians use it. So we know that McCarthy called to someone who recognised the cry. Someone from Australia. Now look at this, Watson. This is a map of the state of Victoria in Australia. What does it say here?
R-A-T. Rat. Oh, I see. It's the end of a place name. Ballarat.
Exactly. McCarthy tried to say Ballarat to his son before he died. And remember, McCarthy lived in Ballarat for many years.
What about the other details? His height, his boots, the cigars.
I can deduce his height and the fact that he limps from his footsteps in the mud near Boscombe Pool.
Of course! And the type of boots he wears.
Right again, Watson. Heavy, square-toed boots. The type of boots they wear in the Australian bush.
But how do you know he is left-handed?
Because the murderer hit the victim on the left side of his head. That's unusual.
And the cigars?
There was ash from a cigar behind that tree near the pool. The murderer waited for McCarthy there. It's an expensive Indian cigar. Only one man in the area is rich enough to smoke those cigars.
Of course. Now I know the man you're thinking of.
3 days later, at Holmes's house in Baker Street.
Mr. John Turner to see you, sir.
Please sit down, Mr. Turner. You have Holmes's letter, I see.
Yes. It says you want to see me. That you don't want a scandal. I don't understand.
Oh, I think you do. You see, I know everything about Charles McCarthy's murder.
Then God help me. I don't want James McCarthy to hang, I promise you, Mr. Holmes, but I don't want to hurt my daughter. She loves me so much.
I know, but perhaps it isn't necessary to tell her. Remember, I'm not a police officer. You can talk to me in confidence, Mr. Turner.
The fact is, I'm very ill. I probably have only a month to live, but I want to die in my own house, not in prison.
I understand. We need to know the truth to save James, but we can keep the information private at present. You must write a confession and leave it in my hands until...
You mean until my death, when you can tell the police the truth?
Yes. Then your confession can save James McCarthy's life.
All right. But please, Mr. Holmes, don't tell my daughter Alice. In reality, Charles McCarthy and I were enemies, not friends at all. He was an evil man. I met him in Australia. I was very poor then. I was desperate for money to pay my debts. I did many things I'm ashamed of now. No one called me John Turner then. I had a different name.
1860s, near Ballarat, Australia.
There's a stagecoach going from Ballarat to Melbourne today, Blackjack. It's full of gold. It's our big chance.
Okay, let's get ready. How many men have we got? There were 6 troopers against 6 of my men. 3 of my men were killed in the fight. I put a gun to the head of the stagecoach driver. That man was Charles McCarthy.
Give me the gold, now! Oh my God, it's Blackjack of Ballarat! Yes, yes, take the gold, take everything, only please don't shoot me!
I'm not going to shoot you. I don't want to waste a bullet on a coward. After the robbery, my troubles were over. I was rich. I left Australia as soon as possible and came to England to live. Here, no one knew my terrible secret.
20 years later, in Regent Street, London.
Turner, John Turner! Don't you remember me?
No, I'm sorry. There must be some mistake.
Perhaps if I call you Blackjack of Ballarat, you might remember me.
No. Dear God, no. What are you doing here, McCarthy? What do you want?
I need a place to live. I want you to give me a house. I want money.
I'm not going to give you anything.
Please yourself, but I can talk to Scotland Yard. The police are still interested to know what happened to the gold from the Ballarat robbery.
No. You mustn't talk to the police. I'm a respectable man now. I have a family here. It's blackmail. I didn't want to give in, but I had no choice. All right, McCarthy. You win. You can live on the farm on my estate. But I don't want to hear about Australia again. Never. After McCarthy came to live at Ross-on-Wye, I had no peace. He still blackmailed me.
Give me the money or the police are going to know everything about you, Blackjack of Ballarat.
At Boscombe Pool, the day of the murder.
He even wanted his son to marry Alice to get my money.
I can't marry Alice Turner, Father. Don't ask me again.
I had no choice.
Ah! Blackjack of Ballarat!
That's my story. I'm not proud of it.
Well, Turner, your secret is safe with us. If the judge finds James McCarthy guilty, I'll use your letter. If he finds him innocent, I'm going to destroy it.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. You're a good man.
Please don't thank me, Turner. I'm thinking of your innocent daughter and the boy she loves. Your punishment is not for me to decide.
7 months later.
Watson, I have some news about the Boscombe Valley murder. John Turner is dead, and it says here James McCarthy and Alice Turner are married.
And they don't know anything about their father's secret?
Nope, nothing at all. Now we must destroy that unpleasant letter.
What clever work, Holmes.
Elementary, my dear Watson. Elementary.